You know, the biggest question I get is, what should the Eagles' number one priority be this offseason? To me, it's simple. Trade up for one of the top 3 wide receivers in this draft. Yo, everybody, how you doing? King Dingbat here. So, today we have come with the hell is that? It's a big-ass dog. Dallas still stinks. Yo, everybody, how you doing? King Dingbat here, and that's right. You see it, right? The beard is still here. You know, yesterday I got around the wife. I told her, I said, I'm the man. I'm the king of the house. I shave when I want to shave, woman. You hear me? I shave when I want to shave, woman. You know? So I tore. I lost the razor. I can't do anything about it. You know, it's gone. I don't know where it went, baby. I have to go buy another one. Oh, come on, baby. I lost the razor. Yeah, baby. I love you. I love you. I love you. So, now that we got that out of the way, and you know who the man is, I wanna talk to you guys about another dude who is the man. My man, House Cat. Now, House Cat's been a loyal subscriber, loyal viewer, and out of nowhere, I get this little message with a picture that he drew. And I wanted to give him a shout out for this picture. I love it. I think it's badass with the whole Thanos thing, the snap thing. I think it's cool. And if I can only get in as good a shape as that picture looks, I'll be doing okay. But shout out to House Cat. What a great picture. What a great picture. Look at it. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're a hell of an artist, House Cat with a Z. Shout out to you. I'm going to be using this on my channel, no doubt about it. So thank you very much. Now, if you said to me, what is the number one thing you want to see happen this offseason for the Eagles? I'm going to tell you, I want one of the top 3 wide receivers in this draft. I think it's so important to get one of those guys. Now, there's a lot of mock drafts having guys like Henry Ruggs fall to us. I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it. I don't think any of the top 3 wide receivers will be at 21, meaning I think the Eagles need to trade up. And you know, it's funny. This is a big priority for me, okay? And if I tell you, if I look at all my comments, all the things that people DM me on Twitter or wherever, it's always about trading up. A lot of people, I think, believe we need to land one of these top 3 wide receivers in this draft. And I'm big on that. So, if you're thinking that you got to get one of these top 3 wide receivers, you probably know Denver might take a receiver. And if the Cowboys lose Cooper, they could wind up drafting a guy like Henry Ruggs. So you're going to have to trade up. And when you talk about trading up, the question becomes, what's it going to cost you and where are you going to trade up to? And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, because maybe you guys don't know, some of you guys will definitely know, but teams use a draft value chart, okay? This is how they kind of determine how they're going to trade up, what's it going to cost to move up, and you kind of can get a sense of what it'll cost a team. Now, in today's world and in today's football, every team has their own draft value chart. It's not like when it first started years ago. When it first started, it was Jimmy Johnson of the Cowboys. He started doing this, and for a while, all the teams were using the same draft chart. Today, it's a little different because one of the things that Jimmy Johnson's draft value chart didn't have, it really didn't take into account the value of trading back and adding picks. And that's a lot more valuable today than it's ever been. So his draft value chart is kind of old, kind of expired. Teams have their own, and it's kind of hard to find what each team's exact draft value chart is. They don't really want it out. That's why you'll see teams try to trade up or move up and just not be able to do it with a certain other team because they have 2 different values. But for this conversation, for talking about what it's going to cost, that Jerry Jones draft value chart, it'll give you a pretty good idea of what it'll cost, okay? So let's say, for example, you want to get up and get CeeDee Lamb, right? CeeDee Lamb is the guy the Eagles want. So where are you going to have to get to be sure that you could land CeeDee Lamb today, okay? And when you look at the draft and you look at the board, I think the first receiver goes off the board at this point it's, before free agency starts and that kind of thing. But I think the first wide receiver goes off the board at 12. The Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders now, they pick 12. I think they take CeeDee Lamb. The next pick is the Indianapolis Colts. They could very well take Jerry Jeudy. They need a wide receiver. Then you have Tampa, Denver at 15. I think Denver needs a wide receiver, and they could go Ruggs. So you could see Lamb at 12, Jeudy at 13, and then Ruggs at 15, all off the board. If I was doing my mock, that's how I would have it. That's how I would have it slated. So if you wanted to get CeeDee Lamb, I think your best bet would be to trade with the New York Jets, okay? You would have to trade with the Jets at 11. That way, you jump the Raiders and you can snag Lamb. And I think that's what it would be. So when you look at the draft value chart and you look at how much that 11th pick overall is worth, you see it's worth $1,250, right? 1,250 points. So the Eagles are going to basically have to get that value in draft picks in order to get up and make a trade with the Jets. Okay, so the Jets have the 11th pick, and it's 1,250 points, right? The Eagles have the 21st pick. It's 800 points. That's what it's worth. So now you have to come up with the difference, okay? And you could look at this chart. There's links in the description. There's so many different ways to work this thing out and to basically come up with different ways and different picks and that kind of thing. Also, let me say this. This chart will not show you next year draft picks, but the rule of thumb for future picks is that if you're trading a first round pick, let's say, a next year's first round pick, a 2021 first round pick, it's worth a second round pick this year. A second round pick this year is worth a third round pick. A third round pick next year is worth a fourth round pick this year. And that's kind of how they go about doing it. So, for an example, right, we're just going to do a real quick example. There's a lot of different ways. If the Eagles wanted to trade up to 11 to get CeeDee Lamb, according to the value chart, and like I said, these are all pretty similar, the Eagles would have to give up their first pick, which is the 21st overall, their 53rd pick, which is their second round pick, that's worth 370 points, and their third round pick, which is worth 88 points. Then I'm talking about their third round pick, okay? Because the Eagles have projected 10 picks. Okay, they have projected 10 picks. They're going to have 2/3, and I threw in the third round pick that they have. So that would bring the Eagles' score with the 21st, which is the first, second, and your second, third. That would take you to 1,258 points. That would be slightly more than the Jets' 1,250 points. Now, it's not always exactly the same amount. Some teams want to trade back, some teams want to trade up. It just really depends. But you got to get somewhere within that same area, okay? And that's what it would cost. Another option you would have to get to 11 is you could give up your first round pick this year. You could give up a second round pick next year, and you could give up your third. Okay, so a first, a second next year, and a third. A first, third this year, and a second next year would get you up to 11. That's about how much it would cost you to get CeeDee Lamb. That's why I think that the Eagles wouldn't make this move. I think that it would cost them too much. Now, if they like him as much as, if they think he's the next DeAndre Hopkins, then it's worth it. You got to do it, okay? But if they're looking at it like I'm kind of looking at it, like, give me one of those top three guys, I think the spot the Eagles should aim to get up to in the trade, okay, at this point, I think the best spot is 14. If I'm the Eagles, I'm trading up to 14. I would try to trade up to 14, get right in front of Denver, okay? So basically you're jumping Denver and you're jumping Dallas. Okay, we gotta love jumping Dallas. But you get to 14, and let me see, 14, Tampa Bay, it's worth 1,100 points, okay? So the Eagles would have to go from 21 to 14. It's a lot more doable. Like I said, you can figure out all these different ways. But for the Eagles, right, 21 is worth 800. So their 21st pick is worth 800 points. Tampa's 14th pick is worth 1,100 points. A third this year, and a third next year, which is fourth round value next year, should pretty much get you to 14. Now, that's something I would do, especially when I have 2 third-round picks. And, I could figure out that third-round pick next year. I could trade one of my 3/4, maybe get another third next year, something like that later. I can make up for next year's third-round pick. I think my first this year, a third, and my first third. Okay, so your 21st pick overall, and then I forget what exactly the number was for the third pick that they have. But your first and your first third and a third-round pick next year is what I would do to get to 14. That would pretty much get it done. Tampa would then go back to 21. You sit there. You're going to get Henry Ruggs at that point. At the very least, you get Ruggs. Maybe in free agency, the Raiders take a receiver. They don't want Lamb early on. They'll get a receiver second with their second first-round pick. Who knows? At best case scenario, 2 of the 3 wide receivers are available. At worst case, at least you get Henry Ruggs. But 14 is the point where I think the Eagles have to get to in order to get one of these top 3 wide receivers. And that's what I would do. And I think a first-round pick, a third-round pick this year, and a third next year to get up to 14 would be worth it. What they're saying about this draft is the top 15. The top 15 is very valuable this year. So teams in the top 15 are holding strong to the value. So it's going to cost you more. But that's how I would approach it. You would jump Dallas, you would jump Denver, and I think that's the best way the Eagles can go about getting up in the draft to make sure they get at least Henry Ruggs with their first pick in this draft. So just remember, with these draft value charts, I'll leave all the links in the description and you can go play around with it yourself. Just remember, it's not an exact formula. Each team has their own formula, but it kind of gives you an idea of what it would cost you to get up. It depends on so many factors, though. Some teams, they value moving back. They want to move back because they got their eyes on somebody. So they're willing to take less. It just really depends. But I think overall, this kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to cost the Eagles. And to me, I think it's worth getting up to 14. I think that Tampa Bay spot is a spot where the Eagles need to really try to aim to and try to get to. Because if you can jump Denver and Dallas and get one of the top 3 wide receivers, this is going to go a long way, especially for me, in making me feel that the Eagles have really fixed and addressed the things they had in the offseason. I really think that the Eagles got to try to get up and get one of these top 3 wide receivers, no matter how it goes. And if they really value CeeDee Lamb, which to me, he's the best receiver in the draft, go get him. I don't care if it costs you a first, a second-round pick next year and a third-round pick this year. I don't care. Get him. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.